on Iran. The comments come after reports that negotiators had reached a tentative framework for a possible agreement over Iran's nuclear program. In a post on social media, Trump outlined issues including shipping through the Strait of Hormuz and the future of Tehran's enriched uranium. It's unclear whether Iran has agreed to the terms Trump described or when a final decision might be made. An investigation by ProPublica shows the White House pushed the Pentagon to provide a $620 million loan to a rare earth minerals company. Reporter Robert Federaci says the request involved a company called Vulcan Elements, which manufactures magnets used in drones and satellites.
What we found is the White House intervened and specifically asked that office to give this record-setting loan to a company that Donald Trump Jr.'s firm had invested in just 3 months prior.
ProPublica reports the request came from White House advisor Peter Navarro, a longtime ally of President Trump. Israeli military forces have pushed farther into Lebanon while launching airstrikes. NPR's Jana Raff reports from Beirut.
Israel launched its most intense airstrikes in weeks, despite a U.S.-brokered ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to crush Hezbollah and said Israeli forces were capturing and controlling areas in Lebanon. Lebanese health authorities said the dead included 2 children and 3 women in attacks on a village in southern Lebanon. Iran-backed Hezbollah said it targeted Israeli forces and tanks advancing in the south. Iran has insisted on an end to the war in Lebanon as part of any peace agreement with the U.S. Jana Raff, NPR News, Beirut.
Authorities in Romania say a Russian drone aimed at Ukraine crashed into an apartment building in the eastern part of the country overnight. Esme Nicholson reports.
The Defense Ministry in Bucharest says the drone tracked by radar crashed into the roof of an apartment building in the city of Galați near Romania's border with Ukraine. Romania's foreign ministry says the government has asked NATO for a faster delivery of anti-drone capabilities as Russia increases its aerial attacks on neighbouring Ukraine. US Ambassador to NATO Matthew Whitaker condemned the incident as a reckless incursion on social media, adding that we will defend every inch of NATO territory. Romanian Armed Forces Acting Commander General George Maxim clarified that this is not an attack from Russia against Romania, but that Russia is a threat to the security of the countries in the region. For NPR News, I'm Esme Nicholson in Berlin.
This is NPR News in Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. This just in to News 88.7, a number of rail cars are on their side on an overcrossing over Hempstead Road near Washington Avenue in northwest Houston. The derailment occurred just before 9 o'clock this morning. No injuries are reported. The railroad is not saying how long it will take to clear the accident. Trains are being diverted around the city at this time, including the diversion of an Amtrak passenger train through the 3rd Ward. NASA has awarded 2 companies outside of the Houston area nearly $1 billion in contracts to build the infrastructure associated with a potential base on the moon. This is part of an effort to return to the moon. Having said that, Johnson Space Center is going to play a huge role in upcoming missions, despite big companies losing out on those bids. Here's Eric Berger with Ars Technica.
We flew the lunar missions from Johnson Space Center, so it stands to reason that if you have lots of lunar activities in the surface, you're going to need lots of mission management from back here in Houston. So I think if a moon base happens and develops even half as much as envisioned, it's very positive for Houston.
Houston-based Axiom Space is providing the spacesuits for the upcoming Artemis missions. In sports, the Astros heating up. They beat the Texas Rangers again 5-1 yesterday. They end up taking 3 out of 4 games in that series. Houston has climbed all the way to 3rd place, where they are just 3.5 games behind the Seattle Mariners for 1st place in the American League West Division. Checking your weather, we've got an air quality alert up and in effect across the region due to high ozone pollution numbers. Otherwise, it's going to be sunny today with a high near 91. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 74 degrees. Right now, it's partly cloudy and 79 degrees on the UH campus. Get more news and information. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
And good morning, Houston. Ernie Manouse here. For a minute I got confused what my name was. Sitting in with me today is Brenda Valdivia, someone whose name I will never forget. Brenda, good to have you here with me today.
Yeah, it's good to be back with you, Ernie. It feels like the old days.
A little history that we have together. We did Town Square. Brenda was one of the producers on that show and also sat in for me when I would get that much-needed break every so often. And then you went on, you board-opped and announced on the station for a while, and now you work over at Houston Matters. You've been working around the floor.
I know. Anywhere they point, I'll just stand, apparently. That's my gig.
But now we get to do something I don't know that we've ever hosted together.
You know, we haven't. I was thinking about it. I think this is the first time we've ever been near mics together, and I think they designed that on purpose.
Oh, well, now you'll find out why as you listen today. We've got a lot on today's show that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. New summer movies. I know you love movies and the arts.
Yes, there's a lot of big projects coming up, and I'm really excited to see what's going to be on screen.
Our good friend from Nerdtropolis. I cannot talk today. I'll explain why in a minute. I'm angry too, and I'll explain why in a minute. Also, the Houston airport system. We're going to be talking about what's travel got in store for us this summer. Everything from closures and remodeling and redirection to closing airlines to costs of gas. What's going on?
Are you staying in the city? Are you going out of the country? What are your plans for this summer?
Yeah, we're going to find out. And talking about plans, we have last-minute plans coming up later in the show. That's a big thing we like to talk about. Every Friday, we have last-minute plans. But what I want people to think about when you think about calling in to share your last-minute plans with us, also think about, are you involved in throwing some event or some gathering that you want to invite the community to come to? Here's a place to do it. So either email them to us at talk@hellohouston.org, or you can text us at 713-440-8870. Let us know what they are. Either let us know your plans, what you're doing, you're going somewhere excited to share, or if you're throwing something or want to invite people to come to something, let us know. We'd love to know what's on your mind. That's all coming up. Plus, Texperts. You may not have heard, but we had an election recently. I could have said that practically any week for the last 5 or 6 months. But finally, we have passed all of our elections. Brandon Rottinghaus and Texperts are going to be here to talk a little bit about the role of elections, who runs the elections, how they do it all, and also a little more information for you. That's all coming up on today's show.
Yes, of course. And
what were you going to say?
Do you want to start with the headlines?
No, I first want to tell everyone why I'm so agitated. I take pride in my teeth. I know, it's a weird thing to be excited about. But I have they're not perfect to look at, but structurally, I've never had any problems with my teeth. One time, a little cavity. That was it in my entire life. And I have been going through it with what seems like I needed a root canal. Never had anything, and I am just distraught. I had it done yesterday. I'm still upset. I want my perfect teeth back.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat. I have a slight underbite, but that's about it. Much to the dismay of dentists who kept saying for years, it's going to come back to haunt you. But I floss, so I feel pretty good about myself.
I floss, I brush, I take very good care of my teeth. It seems as though there was a fracture in a back tooth, very small, but enough that bacteria can build up over the years and get up into the nerve. And
it's scary. The teeth problems can cause a heart attack. I didn't know this.
They can also lead...
according to the American Dentists Association. I read a few years back. I was researching for another segment, and the bacteria can reach
It can
down.
also, if you've got a tooth infection and you are an elderly person later in life. It can lead to signs of dementia. It can make confusion. It can make you very sick. So they're important to take care of. But boy, oh boy, I did not like finally. Somebody said to me, well, how are you doing? I said, I'm just mourning the loss of my perfect teeth. So I had a root canal. Was not the most fun. It didn't hurt at all. It wasn't that part of it. It was just knowing that they were taking away part of my teeth.
Well, I'm glad you're not being dramatic about it.
Oh, no. I've been told I'm insane and that I shouldn't be worried about this. And my characteristic of it is, well, what if I got a sliver in my finger and I went to the doctor and they took off the tip of my finger to get rid of the sliver? I think that's going too far.
I feel strongly about my front teeth. That's it. In the back, whatever happens back there is between the rest of my body.
All right.
But if I'm facing the public, I want great teeth.
Well, I don't know that I have great teeth, but I had strong teeth, and now I'm mad. Anyway, I'm going to get past it. I promise. I'm not going to hold a grudge on all of our guests today. If you want to share with us anything that's on your mind, give us a call, 713-440-8870. And now, Brenda, take us into the headlines.
Okay. Well, Caesars Entertainment is being acquired for almost $6 billion by Fertitta Entertainment, the Houston-based company that owns Las Vegas Golden Nugget and chains like Rainforest Cafe and Morton's. Caesar became an iconic name after the opening of Caesar's Palace in the Las Vegas Strip in 1966. However, its roots date back to the 1930s in Reno, Nevada. Fertitta Entertainment will pay about $5.7 billion and take on close to $12 billion of the casino's debts from Caesars, putting in a total value at the deal at a cool $17.6 billion. Again, billion with a B. That's as part of an agreement. Caesars can also seek competing bids through July 11th. So if you're looking to purchase Caesars yourself, you have a shot. Caesars investors will also...
You got a cool 18, 19 billion sitting around.
In reserve.
It could be yours.
Caesars investors will get around $31 in cash for each share they own, a 49% premium over the share price before chatter about a possible tie-up between the two entertainment companies began in February. According to the announcement, the combined company would include 60 domestic casino resorts and gaming facilities.
I think 60 is kind of fascinating. I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, and online gaming platforms, which caught my attention, including sports betting, iCasino, and poker, and more than 200 retail sports betting locations through the William Hill brand. More than 550 Fertitta Entertainment outlets nationwide. So, what do you think about the deal? Sound off in the chat or give us a call at 713-440-8870.
I think it's fascinating from the point of view of watching Fertitta Entertainment grow over the last few years. And when they first stuck their toe in the water in Vegas, and it has continued to grow. And it's just funny because it's a home base, Tillman Fertitta, part of our community, very involved, has been very successful and going on even further. It's interesting that we do this story today because, as we've been talking about on other episodes, Hacks, the TV show, the streaming show, just had its finale last night, and that's based in Vegas. And I think for some people it's kind of fun. You got a little inside feeling of what goes on in the world of these casinos and all of that. And I don't want to ever give any plot lines away because I don't know where anyone is in the storylines. But it's funny to see that. It's like there's a resurgence in an appreciation for Vegas. But they even make a point during the show that what happens in Vegas are not the same things that used to happen in Vegas. And by that, I mean the showrooms and those kind of performances. And now it's become more rock concerts and sporting events, and that Vegas isn't that family-friendly destination they tried to make it a few years back.
Yeah.
Kind of didn't catch on, and now it's getting more adult again. But.
You need a couple of places to let loose. And, for us in the Houston area, I would say New Orleans is that location. We don't gamble there, but it does have this ability
There's
to
a Caesars right there.
That's true.
The edge of the quarter.
But it does have that freeing feeling. I think Las Vegas also provides that outlet. But, of course, now we have cell phones, so whatever happens in Vegas could definitely go home with you.
Well, you made that whole point, though, also about online betting that caught your eye, the gaming platforms. It's interesting that it's no longer contained in just brick-and-mortar buildings in one part of the country where everyone would go there. And that was one thing they've talked about in the economics of Las Vegas, is that used to be Vegas was where you had to go to gamble. maybe Reno. For a while, we looked at Atlantic City that way. But really, it wasn't as open and available other places. And so now more places. I wonder, though, also if this will excite Tillman Fertitta again about pushing for gambling in Galveston. You know, the more he gets steeped in it.
Well, we were also thinking about Anise Parker, a former mayor. She brought up back, I believe, in May that, perhaps the Astrodome would make the world's biggest casino in Houston. I don't think she got the response she was hoping to get with that. Mainly, if I were to think about having any sort of gambling events, it would definitely not be at the Astrodome, mainly because of traffic. I don't want to think about all that. While I'm trying to go down this South Loop.
I want to remind everyone, share your thoughts, your opinions at 713-440-8870. Earl Grey T-Cat says over in our YouTube chat, one of our YouTubers, Vegas is becoming incredibly unaffordable to the common person. Instead, they are catering to the ultra-wealthy, and people for the wealthier can afford it. And the people for the wealthier can afford it. All right, I know what you mean. Yes, it is funny. I think long gone are the days. What I liked about Vegas was like the $2.99 prime rib buffet. Those don't exist anymore.
Yeah, they're saying buffets are going out. All you can eats are still in. But what they're doing is they're bringing the food to you because most people are feeling a little antsy about going up to the buffets.
Buffets in Vegas are still big, but they're expensive now. They're very highbrow.
Yeah, and if I'm going to spend $120 on something, I
want a waiter to bring me the food.
Yes, yeah. I can live with that.
Let us know what you think. Those are our thoughts on this. Wine Goddess Texas says it'd be great if Tillman got behind an Astrodome redevelopment project. Wonder what he would do with the Astrodome.
He'd probably
turn it into the world's largest casino. We don't know. We'll find out. What else do we want to chit-chat about today? How about that? This is going to tie in a bit to our first guest when they get here. President Trump has called for a temporary waiver for the federal gas tax, which costs drivers 18.4 cents per gallon. It's one of several attempts to relieve pain at the pumps as voters grow increasingly frustrated with gasoline prices, which have hit a 4-year high thanks to the oil trade disruption triggered by the war in Iran. A natural gas tax holiday. A national gas tax let's try that again. A national gas tax holiday. My mouth still isn't working well from all my work in it yesterday. Would require an act of Congress. Lawmakers have floated the idea with several bills introduced before Trump called for a temporary pause on the tax. But even with the president's backing, it's not clear whether his proposal would make it to the floor for a vote. Gas tax holidays are controversial, with advocates arguing they provide quick relief and with critics denouncing them as costly and even counterproductive. What are your thoughts? Would you be happy to hear about a gas tax holiday, not have to pay that extra, what could be about 18.4 cents a gallon? What do you think? Call or text 713-440-8870.
Well, if we're talking about gas prices, I mean, at this point, the changes aren't in cents; they're in dollars. People are paying a difference of.
That's my point.
Yes, it used to be $3 a gallon. Now we're tapping up to about $5. If somebody said, "I'll give you,"
I could fill my 10-gallon car for around $24, and the other day it was over $40.
Yeah.
So that tells me for 1 gallon or for one tank of gas. I just feel that the benefit of having a gas tax, what that money goes to, road repair, infrastructure, all of that, is more important to keep that solvent than the few cent change we would get off these gallons of gas. The price is outrageous for a gallon of gas. That's got to come down, like you said, by dollars, not by cents. But if you give us those cents, it may seem like a little bit for us of a benefit, but it hurts because it's when everyone puts those cents together, it's a huge amount of money that goes to roads and development.
And just logistically, if it's a holiday, I mean, those gas stations are going to be.
Well, the holiday means a reprieve from the gas tax.
But again, we don't know how long this will last. It could be anywhere from a few days to a few months. So,
I think he would want it to be right up until the elections. then maybe gas prices can go back up again. But I just think it's too little for what the problem is. Now, if gas had gone from random numbers, $2.50 a gallon to $3 a gallon, then the 18, 19 cents would feel a little bit like something. But we're talking dollar amounts here, like you mentioned. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. Curious what people think about that. A couple other things going on in the world right now. Drake, ready for this? Drake beat Michael Jackson's record for the most #1 singles by a solo male artist on the Billboard Hot 100 chart.
Drake.
Isn't that surprising?
You know what? I normally don't say fake news, but I do struggle to believe that Drake, of all people.
Well, you struggle with that. I'm going to go to the phones because we have Alan from West Houston calling in at 713-440-8870 with his thoughts on the gas holiday tax. Okay, Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, hi, Ernie. I just think it's sort of like a political move. Folks who can't do simple math wouldn't realize that the amount of money they'll save on a 10-gallon fill-up would buy you maybe a small coffee at Buc-ee's. That's about it. It's just, the reality is our gas prices are where they are because of a war that was not authorized, and it started by a group of folks who weren't really thinking about the long-term implications. So again, I think that everybody could afford $1.80. If we could just end the war, open up the strait, it would be a much better way to lower gas prices.
You know what, Alan, you make me think of something when you say everyone can afford $1.80. And the sad thing is there are many people in our community who can't afford an increase of $1.80. Unfortunately, that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at such higher increases. And you think about people who are already struggling or working low-paying jobs and having to get there, and they have to drive to these jobs, and they're paying so much more for gas. I love the idea of giving folks a break on what they pay, but I really don't think this is much of a dent. So I think we're on the same page there, Alan.
Yes, we are, Ernie.
All right. Thank you for calling in and sharing with us. Remember, you can always call in and share. Give us your point of view on any of the topics we talk about during the show, even ones we haven't brought up. Come and share them with us. 713-440-8870. Really quickly, Noah Espinoza says in our chat, Drake only got there to the more singles because he drops 3 albums at once. Yes, quantity often does help in sales. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about something else that'll get you incensed. What's going on at the airports? What's your summer travel going to be like? Should you just stay home? We'll find out. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Meet Dio Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
Frontline and documentaries that provide a voice to the voiceless. Stream live, engage on demand, and enjoy past seasons through PBS Passport. Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs and stay informed.
Before he was a 9-time All-Star on one of the most iconic teams in basketball, Robert Parrish was a shy kid from Louisiana who barely knew how to play.
I couldn't etch it. I couldn't hold it. I couldn't dribble it. All I could do was look at it.
This week we learn how Robert became the stoic, reliable center who led the Celtics to victory. Join me, David Green, for WHYY's Sports in America.
That's coming up Sunday at 5 p.m.
This week on The Sam Sanders Show, legendary comedian Margaret Cho.
Laughter is an unexpected breath of air that you take that you didn't realize you were going to take.
Yes.
You're confronted by a different kind of thinking that is so unexpected that you have to pause and take a breath.
Margaret Cho on optimism and the magic of laughter.
You can listen to The Sam Sanders Show this Sunday at 6 p.m.
Trustworthy news is why you tune in every day. Become a new member by Friday, and you'll help us unlock $10,000. That goes right back into this station that you rely on. You can do that at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate.
Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match. Metro provides bus, rail, and paratransit service and continues mobility enhancements across the region. More at ridemetro.org/Metro Now.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Ernie Manouse and guest host Brenda Valdivia.
Hey, Brenda.
Hi.
Summer travel season is here, but travelers could face a few extra hurdles at the airport this year. Higher oil prices tied to the conflict in Iran are driving up airline costs. Spirit Airlines has shut down operations, and construction continues around Bush Intercontinental as Houston airports push ahead with major redevelopment projects, all factors that are already affecting air travel plans for Houstonians. Joining us now to discuss what travelers can expect this summer is Jim Szczesniak. He is the Director of Aviation for the Houston Airport Systems. Jim, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Hey. Good to be with you.
So that little list I go through right there of all those things that I mentioned, what do you think's causing the greatest issues for travelers this summer, or what will?
Well, I mean, again, we're going to have World Cup in town, so we'll have a little busier, beginning of the summer with the amount of foreign visitors that we're going to have moving through the terminals. But again, in general, again, the things that we're also doing is opening up a lot of infrastructure. So our new international terminal is now fully open, so we've got our foreign flags over there. Again, that's adding more routes and destinations. So one of the challenges we've got a lot of destinations to choose from. So we're up over 200 destinations nonstop from both our airports that people can choose from. So we've got a lot of options for folks.
We tend to believe that when something like a Super Bowl or World Cup is coming to town and we see all the construction that happens on roads, that when the actual event gets here, all the construction is done and we've got these roads. Are you folks ready at the airport system for what we're assuming or hoping will be a lot of people coming into the city with World Cup?
Yeah, so we're excited because our new international terminal is now fully open. So a lot of other airports are trying to deal with existing infrastructure and kind of push that through, but we've got new infrastructure that we're dealing with. So we're happy. I mean, we got a great new facility to be able to welcome people. So we're very excited to be able to show it off.
Yeah, we're happy whenever we can show off Houston in the best possible light. And so thank you for the work you've done there. I guess another concern is the travel to and from the airports. Does the airport system have much control over road construction outside of the airport facility? Do you folks work with either city or county or however it works to make sure that the flow in and out of the airport can be better? How much control do you have?
So we do coordinate with the jurisdictions outside of us to be able to do work in the appropriate times. So again, the Metro was doing some work on JFK. They completed it, kind of in the shoulder season. So it was, not around during peak time and is done before World Cup. So yeah, we do coordinate with folks to make sure that we're not, that they're not impacting the travel experience during peak periods.
A lot we've been talking about the show that plays into this too is the cost of oil prices, the higher prices of oil. How are you seeing that affect airport operations, both from ticketing prices of airlines, but even the cost of running a facility like our airports?
Yeah, so that is a large chunk of the airline's budget is fuel costs. So we have seen ticket prices start to increase based on the fuel costs, so that it has been going up. But again, it is one of those things that we really haven't seen the traffic demand fall off yet. So our numbers have been relatively stable as far as the amount of people going through the TSA checkpoint. So as of right now, it's again, it's being absorbed, and hopefully this is again something that's going to be temporary.
Now, Spirit Airlines has shut down operations that left a pretty big hole for travelers who are trying to save some money. What's the impact of that in other airlines and for travelers this season?
So the good thing for Spirit route here is that their destinations were covered by all the other airlines at the airport. So we didn't have anybody that got stranded in a destination. So the other airlines have stepped up to be able to pick up some of that slack. Particularly, you've seen Frontier come in here and add some additional capacity. And then JetBlue has announced that they're going to be adding some additional capacity, as well as some increases that we've had from United. So we were covered to start with, and then again, a lot of the other carriers are starting to pick up for JetBlue, but it takes them a little while to move their aircraft around because of the fact that they're on other routes right now. And so we'll start to see a little more of that later in the summer as those new routes get activated.
I want to remind everyone we're speaking with Jim Szczesniak, Director of Aviation for the Houston Airport System. And if you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call or text 713-440-8870. Michael from Westbury's on the line. Michael, what's on your mind today?
Hi, good morning. I wanted to ask what plans the city has for the 1940 Air Terminal Museum at Hobby Airport.
Oh, good question.
Yeah, so right now we're in the process of talking with the state about that, and so we'll have a discussion with the state next week and figure out what their potential to operate that facility would be.
What would you like to see happen down there?
I mean, it's a great facility. I'd like to keep that nice. Again, it's a great Art Deco facility. So just making sure that we keep that active. It's a very nice building.
We were talking about Spirit Airlines shutting down, and what we all think of immediately is we think of costs, we think of routes, we think of the airline itself. For you in the airport industry, when an airline does close down, what added burden is it on you folks? What happens to terminals, to routing, and all that stuff? Does that become a big headache within the system?
So for us, again, we did have this was not a secret that it was potentially going to happen. So we had a plan, and our focus at that time was really to help customers. So if folks were at the airport during the shutdown that actually got trapped there, our folks were there to kind of help them with, making alternate or travel arrangements with the other airlines that are on those routes, trying to explain to them, what their options are about working with their credit card. So we had, staff in the facility doing that. And then we also had a website that was set up to be able to help answer some of those questions too. So our focus was the travelers on that first day. And then after that, it was kind of working with the airline to try and stabilize them as they wound down. And then again, there was a little bit of help that we did too in the airport community with the trying to help out the Spirit employees, to be able to, there's a lot of demand for jobs at the airport and trying to be able to hook them up with new jobs as a lot of the airport community was kind of pitching in to be able to help those Spirit employees.
Now, speaking of folks who are traveling during the summer, you mentioned gas costs rising. There are folks here are also dealing with their own types of inflation rates rising. How do you expect folks to navigate the rising cost of travel during the summer? Are there any tips you can recommend for them to save some money as they book?
Yeah, so if they've got their budget, right, again, we've got those 200 plus destinations that you can serve, and those all come at different price points. And so, you've got, and again, you can look at both airports. So, you got a good destinations that go out of Hobby and you got good destinations that go out of Bush. So if you've got a particular destination or a price point that you've got, we've probably got a destination that you can get there on that. And again, you're getting some good pricing. We do have a lot of service to Asia now. So there's good competition on our routes to Japan. If you want to go to Japan, we've got the new flight to Rome. So, you got some additional capacity going into Europe if you want to do Europe. But then we've got other destinations that have been added like Chattanooga and Montgomery domestically. And then we just need Tuxtla. Mexico was just added by United yesterday. So again, a lot of variety of places on the planet to go see, and we've got different price points.
Now, I've seen a trend online of folks planning to going to an airport and just taking the first flight they arrive. How common is that? Is that something you can do in order to explore domestically in the country? And what's the rate of getting back on time for work by the time the weekend's over?
Yeah, I mean, you're gambling because you also got to figure out what you're going to pack because the weather is different all over the places. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a little more of an anomaly. But I think there's little novelty in being able to go to some random destination. So I applaud anybody that's that adventurous.
Well, talk to me about something a little more concrete in all of this. What are you seeing traffic-wise? Are people visiting outside the country more? Are they tending to travel within country? Are you seeing visitors coming? Is it up or down from other countries? Where do we see trends?
Yeah, so if we look at last year's numbers and where we're trending this year, our domestic travel is roughly flat, but our international travel continues to grow. And so we're seeing, again, a lot of new destinations, a lot of new service from carriers. Again, we got some increased markets from Volaris. Again, the ETA flight from to Rome. Again, United just added this new Mexican destination. So, again, a lot of increase in the international, and obviously with World Cup coming in, we'll see an influx of folks coming in for the World Cup from international destinations. So, again, we've got Germany in town. We've got 3 flights to Germany. We've got Munich and two Frankfurts. We've got the Netherlands in town, and so we've got flights to Amsterdam, and so we'll see a lot of traffic on those legs for World Cup coming in here too.
You mentioned new routes, and I'm just curious, is it a case of there's demand for these routes so they come, or is it we will build them and they will come? Which is it first, chicken or egg in these decisions?
It's a little bit of both. So there's like a threshold level of existing demand that has to be there for the routes to start. And then once the routes start, then you actually get induced demand because you do have nonstop destinations. So you'll get a little more traffic there. So the airlines will look at the magic number of the existing demand, and then they figure when they put a nonstop on there, they're going to get an increase in demand, and that's kind of how they weigh the ability to start new routes.
Now, travelers can use third-party apps like Expedia or others to book their flights. Sometimes that can lead to overbooking. I understand why they're using them. I've used them myself in order to save a buck or two. What happens if a flight is overbooked and they use a third party or another situation comes by? And what negotiations happen between the airlines and these third party companies?
Yeah, when it's kind of you're on the bottom of the list at that point because you use the third party. Generally, if you're going to book with an airline's website, that's going to give you a better priority. And obviously, if you sign up for their loyalty clubs or plans, those actually help a little bit more too. But it is one of those things that they try not to bump people. So they will offer, again, sometimes you'll be in the gate area and they'll offer people $400 to $500 to $600 to give up their seat so that they don't have to bump people. But it is one of those things that happens in the airline industry.
My British computer guy, he just sent us a message. He'd like to know, where is the most popular destination?
Well, it's like our number one market is actually Dallas, but just because of the amount of people that go back and forth from that. So,
city for lovers.
Not as exotic as we were hoping for an answer there.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, that's the answer. But again, there's a lot of destinations that we're seeing that are popular, particularly our Latin American connections and being able to get you into a lot of the destinations in Mexico and the Caribbean, and then down to Latin America really helps. And then from a Europe perspective, we've got good Europe service. And then for Asia, we've got good Asia service. And particularly, we've got, that Tokyo route's pretty competitive with Zip Air on it and United and ANA. And then we've got the far-flung destinations too. You can get down to Australia and to New Zealand too. So, the world is at your fingers here.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out where you want to go.
One of the things about traveling internationally, it's so intimidating to get that first hurdle of flying for hours across an ocean. What do you recommend folks do if they have a dream trip in mind? What conversations should they have before they start to travel?
Yeah, I mean, you can also look at the times, right? So we have some flights that leave in the evening and arrive in the morning, your destination. And so then that way, again, I personally don't sleep on planes, but there are certain people that can sleep on planes. And so, trying to maybe time that departure time so that you can get on the plane, you get your meal, you fall asleep, and when you wake up, you're on your destination that next morning. So you can look at times to try and help with you on that long flight.
Oftentimes, folks are looking for a bargain, a deal to fly cheap. When you talk about multiple routes to a location or new routes opening up to a location, does that influence pricing? If there's more airlines going there, will it bring the price down, or are those very different in the airline world?
Yeah. So definitely the more competition on a route does drive the prices down. But then also you've got the connection power of the hubs that you're going into. So example would be internationally, if you're going into Europe, well, we've got good connections into the Frankfurt hub, the Amsterdam hub, the London hub, and then you can even go as exotic as going into Istanbul. And they've got a pretty robust network there. And then we've got our Middle East carriers that take you into the Middle East and you go to those big mega airports. So, you can shop a lot of destinations and with using those mega hubs to be able to get you anywhere on the globe.
I know this really isn't your area, but I'm going to ask anyway for folks that want to travel and they're looking for the best rates. What do you recommend they do to find the best possible rate to fly?
Sometimes I would recommend looking to be able to go on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Really, that still holds true.
That still holds true with some of the slower days at the airport. If you want to come back on Sundays, that's our busiest day kind of at the airport. So, leaving Fridays and Thursdays and coming back Sundays, your ticket prices are probably going to be higher on there. But if you can go out on a Tuesday or Wednesday and come back on a Monday, that's probably a way you can save a little bit of money.
Is there an optimal? Excuse me. Is there an optimal time to book as well your flight?
Rule of thumb is that if you're 3 weeks out, that any time before 3 weeks is kind of where you can start to get more of a deal. Once you get past, once you get within 3 weeks of flying, then it kind of starts to get a little more pricey as the tickets get sold on those planes.
So I don't need to wake up at 3 a.m. just to book a flight on a Tuesday.
I have heard the time. If you book a flight at 3 a.m., you're going to get a better rate than if you do at 10 a.m. Is there any truth to that kind of stuff?
I don't have enough detail on that one.
Okay.
So it could be an old wives' tale.
We have another question came in online, kind of a comment, and I would love your opinion on it. Chef Rob writes, too bad there's no light rail from the airports to downtown or Galleria or Medical Center. Thoughts, feelings on that?
So, yeah, but the great thing is now we have the Metro 500. So that's as good as you can get right now from as far as light rail. But the Metro 500 basically takes you direct nonstop between both airports and downtown. And it stops at kind of strategically, it stops downtown at a couple of the big areas where a lot of hotels are. So we're seeing a lot of like the foreign travelers that are used to the being able to do the public transit to the airports. They're pretty easy for them to get them on the bus and then get them down to their hotels. And so that's, it's not light rail, but it's very close. It's basically, a very express bus service that takes you right downtown. And again, you got free Wi-Fi on that bus. It's a nice luxury seat. They're coach buses. You can put your luggage below. So it's a really good experience. A lot of our employees will use it to go to the Astros game too. So they'll leave work and jump on that and go to the Astros game. So,
do you know roughly the fee for it?
It's $4.50.
Oh, wow.
It's better than an Uber.
That is great.
Say that.
Yes.
We have another call on the line. It's 713-440-8870. It's Joanna from Inside the Loop. Joanna, what's on your mind?
Good morning. My question is about the British Airways flight. It now arrives in Terminal C, and you have to walk through D&E to get through immigration, and it's a very long walk. Is there going to be any change in that?
Thank you, Joanna. Let's find out. Advice for Joanna and coming in at C, but having to go through D&E to get to customs.
Yeah, so that route is going to be the kind of the traditional route on it. The thing that we are doing for that route, though, is that we are adding a restroom on that journey path. So that should be open later this summer. So then that way that we've got a little bit of if you need to use the restroom, we'll be able to have that restroom on the path. So that kind of will help break up that route.
Jim, as we wrap up our conversation today, advice you would give to weary travelers as we go into the summer season, what are you telling your friends?
Well, again, we want you to have a good experience at the airport, so just plan ahead. So if you reserve your parking, and right now at the airport, you can reserve your parking up to 2 hours in advance. That takes that off your pressure list. Again, downloading the airline's apps because of the fact that if there's something that happens, you can, those airline apps are very useful for being able to rebook flights or look at different options or get updates from the airlines on that. And then again, I would, come out here and we've got some great restaurants at the airport. So have a good meal before you jump on. I know the Landry's seafood is going to be opening at Hobby next week. We've got the Common Bond that's going to open a couple weeks after that. At Bush, we've got a couple new restaurants that open. So there's a lot of food and drink options here at the airport to come out and have a nice experience before you get on your flight.
Jim, as always, thank you for joining us and sharing with us here. Jim Szczesniak is the Director of Aviation for the Houston Airport System. Thanks again, Jim.
Thanks.
Coming up, okay, we've talked about summer travel. How about summer movies? The blockbuster season is upon us. We're going to find out what you can see coming up. So stay with us in Hello Houston.
Meet Gamola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Gamola to learn more about his ride.
Public Media. We need to get to 200 new members by Friday to unlock $10,000. This is an amazing time to become a new member. Do that now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Next time on Climate One, a popular social media philosopher who wants to inspire and connect people to the world outside their door.
I feel a moral imperative to nature to try to remind people of how incredible it is. And at the same time, I feel a moral imperative to people to remind them of how incredible nature is.
Healing Ourselves and the Planet with Uncle Pappy on the next Climate One.
You can listen Sunday morning at 6 a.m.
Hello, I'm Nikki Beattie. Join me for this week's Arts Hour from the BBC. With best-selling American author Tayari Jones, US auteur and Oscar-winning screenwriter Charlie Kaufman, singer Jill Scott, French screen star Isabelle Huppert, Ling King, translator of Taiwan Travelogue, and Malian band Tamicrest. That's all in the Arts Hour from the BBC.
You can hear that tonight. It's on at 10 p.m.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe, R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul, music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manouse and guest host Brenda Valdivia.
That's right, it's me, and I'm here with Ernie to let you know summer is here, and that means, yes, hot nights, which is a perfect excuse to sneak off into a cool, dark movie theater and catch some of this year's biggest films in the coming weeks. There's a lot for moviegoers this summer, with headlines including Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, Spider-Man's Brand New Day, that one's for me, I love that one, and Toy Story 5, so many more. So to help break us down the biggest movie releases of 2026, we're joined once again by the founder and editor of Nerdtropolis, Sean Tajipour. Sean, welcome back to the show.
Always great to be here and nerd out with y'all.
Absolutely.
I think it's just funny, and listening to Brenda's intro, I'm old enough to remember when movie theaters in the summer advertised on their marquee air condition. Didn't matter what the movie was. You just wanted to go in because it was cool in there.
You can still see that sign on the Majestic in downtown. Air conditioning, yes.
But you're here to tell us there's more reasons to go into the theater this summer than just the air conditioning.
I mean, I have 10 plus reasons how we want to do this.
10 plus?
I mean, I have my top 10 and I have a lot of recommendations. How do we want to kick this off?
Well, why don't you start? Number one movie to see this summer.
I actually want to start from 10 to 1.
The 10th movie you should see this summer.
So I have Scary Movie coming out on June 5th. You know, that
Okay, I got a question about that one already. So is it a continuation of the series of them, or are they restarting the whole franchise?
It's a reboot, requel, sequel, and honestly, the Wayans brothers only did the first 2 films and got that franchise pulled away from them. So they're back in the creative chair.
So they have it back.
They have it back. They're back on affairs. Everyone else is back, and they're going to give us some really good spoofs, I believe, with this one. I mean, they're going to roast everything audiences have been screwing about the last couple of years.
My big question, is Brenda back? As a Brenda from the Scary Movie series has come up so much as one of the top tier movie Brendas of all time. She is an iconic character in the series, in the film series. Is she coming back?
She is back.
Whew.
All our favorites are back. I mean, maybe there's a few we're rooting for, but maybe if this does well, the next one will be up. So I got Scary Movie at the top.
Number 9.
Number 9, I have Power Ballad, starring Nick Jonas and Paul Rudd.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some trailers.
Coming out June 5th as well. I mean, I've seen that one and I loved it. It is a great, heartfelt film about music. Nick Jonas kind of playing this like fading boy band star, so kind of playing on kind of, you know, touching on some of his own stuff. And then Paul Rudd being this like musical wedding singer that wants to be a rock star. And they kind of collide with some music stealing.
Explain to me why this is a movie theater C movie and not a Lifetime movie.
It's Nick Jonas and Paul Rudd. Those two guys are made for the big screen.
But the story feels smaller than that. Is it a bigger film than I'm
It is
thinking?
a bigger film than you think.
Okay.
It absolutely. I mean, it hits the high notes with the audience. It's fantastic.
I want to remind you all as you're listening, if one of these triggers a nerve with you or you want to share with us, give us a call, 713-440-8870.
I'm curious, is it more of a musical or more of a story of two men joining together to create something beautiful?
I mean, it's a John Carney film. If you know his films, music is very important.
All right, so let's go to number 8.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. I might have to give this to you, Ernie, as we talk number 8. Masters of the Universe.
Okay, I'm already disappointed it's only number 8.
Because we have such a crazy summer. It should be impressive that this is at 8, even though I'm excited for this. There's a lot.
I can't wear this because
It's okay. Hold on to it and pull down the mouth. Just pull down the mouth.
Very nice.
Ernie has become Skeletor, who's voiced by Jared Leto. But we got He-Man coming back. The power of nostalgia with this film. And, this movie is really for parents who still remember yelling, "I have the power," and kids who are about to find out why.
Yeah, and I vaguely remember a green tiger in my toy box, so I'll probably watch the movie for only that.
I mean, the toys are selling out everywhere. That's for sure.
I got to put up that mask so everyone can see it on camera here in his little mouth.
So what do we have for number 7?
So for 7, some people might not know about this film. I'm happy to put a spotlight on it. Is The Furious. It is a great kung fu fighting style. If you love the John Wick type films, The Raid. This is a new Asian film that's coming out June 12th. And every summer movie really needs a film that makes you feel the punches and the kicks and the knockouts. And it's a great film that's made if you love, Asian filmmaking.
Yes.
and all that awesome fight scenes and non-stop fighting.
The
throughout.
Raid, incredible movie.
So you're going to love this.
Yes,
absolutely.
I absolutely love it. Complete choreographed fight scenes that don't feel choreographed. That is my favorite type of action film.
If you watch The Furious and don't like it, I'll reimburse you myself for that movie ticket.
Just Brenda or anybody listening?
Just her.
Okay. I don't want to get carried away. I do want to say that what I was noticing the last couple of years is it's been really a boring summer. I keep getting my little movie pass, and it's like, I don't even care if I go. A lot of that was because 2 years ago, they had all these strikes. Actors weren't working. Writers weren't writing. Now are we seeing the rebirth of a good summer?
Yeah, as we hit this top 6 list, you're going to be like, all right, here's some big heavy hitters. Here's some good
already
stuff.
You've been pretty good
and
with
it's good.
heavy
And I
hitters.
even have some bonus weekend plays where we probably won't get to them. I'm saying there's a lot happening.
Okay,
big
get
spill,
to number
small
6.
spills.
Get to 6.
Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg's sci-fi, coming out June 12th, starring Emily Blunt. They're saying this is his best film in over 10 years.
Oh.
And Disclosure Day, all the talks lately about aliens, the government releasing those files, perfect timing, I think, in seeing if Disclosure is going to be that spiritual sequel to Third Encounters or
Close
Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh my God, is he going to make another mashed potato tower on his plate, and his wife's going to think he's
There might be some
insane?
callbacks. I don't know. I haven't seen that one yet, but I'm hearing this is one of his best work.
Well, we've hit the top 5.
We have.
Dun, dun, dun.
And they're exciting. So for 5, it's Minions and Monsters coming out July 1st.
Oh my God.
Minions, the little...
How many more Minion movies
There's not
do
enough.
we need?
This time they're in 1920s Hollywood.
God.
And they become actors, and they're trading up bananas for big screen monsters and madness.
How does that beat a Steven Spielberg?
How does that
movie on your
beat
list?
the
Scary
Minions.
movie?
Minions is a huge franchise making billions.
Okay.
All right. Number 4.
Number 4 is Supergirl. Superman may have opened the door, but Supergirl is going to fly straight through it. We're getting a great kind of, it's not an origin story, but a great story of Supergirl and Krypto, and obviously getting Jason Momoa as Lobo, which is exciting, a role he was made for, not Aquaman, but Lobo.
I know people, and this is true, who've waited close to 30 years for a Lobo to appear on screen. As soon as it was announced, I had phone calls.
You need to get new friends.
No,
That's all I can say.
And word of Jason Momoa is never a bad thing, right?
Right. But also, Supergirl, I am very fond of the 80s movie of Supergirl. Campy, ridiculous, over the top. Is this one going to take that kind of approach, or is it going to be right
It's going
up
to be
there?
serious, emotional. She's going to
Yeah.
show true power. But also that original film really set the tone for women empowerment and everything. That original film from the 80s is a very important film, I believe, for female superheroes.
But Lobo will camp it up a bit. I mean, he is such an over-the-top character. You know, he drives a motorcycle in space. It's kind of hard.
And we can't forget Krypto's in this, too.
Yes.
Krypto. And I remember talking about how irritated I was by Krypto in the trailer for Superman. And then I saw Superman, and I loved Krypto. So I'm happy he's back. Okay,
Top three. We got the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's next epic that's sitting under 3 hours. So just heads up, everyone. It's under 3 hours, but it's hitting that point. But, I mean, what a cast. Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, and so many more. The book we read in school, Christopher Nolan is giving his treatment, and I'm super excited to...
So is he following the Odyssey, or has he gone off and told his own story?
I mean, it's always going to be Christopher Nolan's version. But it's something
right.
he's been obsessed with forever. Just like Guillermo del Toro was obsessed with Frankenstein, and he wanted his version. Right. So this is Christopher Nolan's chance to pay dues to something he really loved.
Pay due to number 2.
Pay due. Toy Story 5. Woody and Buzz are back. And this time, you know, they survived moving trucks, yard sales, daycare, but now they have to take a look at the iPad generation. And the
I got to talk about the bucket you brought, the popcorn bucket.
So this is for the 30th anniversary of the original film.
But I got a question for you. There's a box down here. That means something happens on the top. Do they talk? Do they move? Or is that box just holding them in place?
I think it's just holding them in place because they're heavy. They are heavy duty. If you can tell, it's a very heavy duty.
Yeah, I was excited
duo. But the popcorn bucket for Toy Story 5 is awesome. It's the Buzz Lightyear body costume, and it's very cool.
I want to talk about buckets another time, but I got to hear number 1 before we're done.
I think you're going to love number 1 because it's Spider-Man Brand New Day. Oh, come on. It's Spidey. It's the best superhero to ever exist. Tom Holland's back. A Spider-Man story fans have been waiting for.
The trailer of him just looking despondent and getting his butt kicked over and over again on screen, and the feral reaction from people online about this movie and saying yes, because he's finally comic book Spider-Man, who is chronically being dogged by every comic book writer and artist. I've never seen a happy Spider-Man or a happy Spider-Man that's where his happiness lasted more than 5 minutes. I do worry a bit for Tom Holland because it's a rough role, but I'm excited to see this
less
movie.
Multiverse, more neighborhood, a whole lot more responsibility, and he's alone. He's alone and has to deal with a lot of threats and see where this new chapter takes him because people don't know him anymore.
Quickly, the word on the street for a while there was this whole cinematic universe thing was kind of losing steam. Sounds like they don't think so in Hollywood with what you just went through.
No, absolutely. I mean, with cinema and everything else, the big blockbusters, they're back.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep getting more of them. I mean, even this fall, October, Christmas, and beyond.
Do we still have to know all of the offshoots to appreciate the film we're going to see?
No, I don't think so, because I will say this as we wrap up, is Mandalorian and Grogu is a film you can go straight in and not seeing any of the seasons or the spinoffs on that. And that was something that I think all people could go enjoy, too. So a good example of not having to follow a show or a movie. You can go in and have a great time. Enjoy your popcorn.
Sean, I have to say it's amazing how without even looking at a clock, you knew that we were out of time. That's someone who knows his timing. Sean Tajipour is the founder and editor at Nerdtropolis, and he comes in and keeps us up to date on what's happening in pop culture. Sean, always thanks.
Always great.
Coming up, we're going to discuss more of today's top headlines. We're also going to revisit an episode of Brandon Rottinghaus's Texperts series and last-minute plans. So start sharing yours with us now at 713-440-8870. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Convenience stores are booming, and it's food that's driving the growth.
Are these grocery stores that have gas, or are they gas stations that have food, right? And so in some parts of the South, people think of these as more as restaurants.
I'm Kai Rizdal, the convenience store craze, next time on Marketplace.
You can listen to Marketplace later today at 6:30.
Support comes from the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. Organic forms, vibrant colors, and playful spontaneity shape Henri Matisse's vegetable elements. This and others in Masterpieces from the Museum Bergrun, now in view. Info at mfah.org.
We have an Ozone Action Day. It's 84, and this is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, a federal appeals court has ruled that the Texas law requiring app stores to verify a user's age before they can download apps will be allowed to take effect. We'll discuss this law and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm guest host Brenda Valdivia. As we come off another election cycle, we'll share an episode of Texperts, in which Party Politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus explores the role county attorneys play in local elections.
Plus, we'll also share a rundown of events happening this weekend in H-Town for our regular Friday feature, Last Minute Plans.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Also, you can watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. President Trump says he's meeting with his top advisors to make a final determination about the war in Iran. U.S. sources confirmed yesterday that negotiators had reached a deal for a 6-month ceasefire, but Trump still needed to weigh in. NPR's Deepa Shivaram reports.
On Thursday, there was a potential outline for a continued 60-day ceasefire, but the president and Iran had not yet agreed to it. Trump posted on social media Friday, repeating his stance that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon and that the Strait of Hormuz should be opened. The Iran war has gone on for months, tanking the president's approval ratings as his party faces a challenging midterm election year. Trump has gone back and forth in the last several weeks, at times saying he's close to reaching a deal with Iran and saying he'll ramp up attacks once again. Deepa Shivaram, NPR News, the White House.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from moving forward with a nearly $1.8 billion settlement fund tied to claims of government weaponization. The fund would compensate people who say they were politically targeted by the federal government. NPR's Tom Dreisbach reports opponents argue the plan is unconstitutional.
They are presuming that all of the money from this fund will only go to the president's friends and allies, not his perceived enemies like themselves. And so they argue the fund is unconstitutional. They asked a judge to stop it altogether or at least pause it while they're suing. And so a federal judge in Virginia today ordered that the administration do that. They were pausing any action to create this fund or make any payments.
That's NPR's Tom Dreisbach reporting. The fund stems from President Trump's lawsuit against the IRS over the disclosure of his tax returns. The director of the World Health Organization has arrived in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is battling an Ebola outbreak. Emmett Livingstone reports workers there are struggling to contain the virus.
According to revised data, authorities have recorded more than 900 suspected cases in 3 provinces and over 220 suspected Ebola deaths. The virus is spreading in a region plagued by armed groups, which is complicating the health response. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus is seeking to rally those confronting the outbreak.
I came here to show that the communities in Ituri, North Kivu and South Kivu, that they're not alone and that we are here to support.
Congo's Health Minister Roger Kamba criticized what he called alarmist views regarding the outbreak, saying Ebola will be stopped within about 6 months. For NPR News, I'm Emmett Livingstone in Kinshasa.
On Wall Street, the Dow crossed the 51,000 mark for the first time today. Right now, it's up 319 points. This is NPR News in Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. A major downtown roadway remains closed due to the derailment of a Canadian Pacific Kansas City Southern freight train on a bridge. Just after 9 o'clock this morning, as many as 11 rail cars, possibly carrying automobiles, tipped over on a curved viaduct over Hempstead Road near Washington Avenue. A number of leaning cars are hanging over the viaduct in danger of falling onto the roadway. There is no estimate on how long Hempstead Road will be closed, no word from the railway on when accident crews will be moving in to clear the wreck. Trains, including at least one Amtrak train, were diverted around the area of the derailment. Crews had to use a ladder truck to rescue 8 students stuck on a roller coaster high over the Pleasure Pier in Galveston last night. The ride malfunctioned early Thursday evening. Crews got the last person off the ride after about 4 hours. Galveston Fire Chief Mike Varela says none of the riders had injuries.
And then the operators were like looking at it, they were like, oh, boom, they like working it out. And then it didn't come down. So they were like, oh. So yeah, they were like, oh. And then boom, they were like, oh, can y'all please get out this way? And we were like, why? He's like, oh, the ride's malfunctioning. It'll be up soon, right? Not anytime soon, apparently.
Varela says they don't yet know why the ride stopped. Houston ISD students were on the island as part of an end-of-the-year senior trip. Taking a look at sports, the Astros finish off the Rangers 5-1 in Arlington. Houston comes home to face the Milwaukee Brewers at 7:10 at Dyken Park. Checking weather, an air quality alert in effect across the region due to high ozone pollution numbers. It's going to be sunny today with a high near 91, partly cloudy overnight with a low around 74. Right now, mostly clear, 84 degrees on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include DuckDuckGo, who believes AI should be optional and private. That's why they created Duck.ai, where users can chat privately with AI. No tracking. Learn more at Duck.ai.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manouse.
And not just Ernie Manouse, Brenda Valdivia is sitting in with me today and having a lot of fun. We had a busy first hour.
We did.
We gave you advice on where to go and how to go if you're leaving town and what to do if you're staying in town by going to the movies. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of stuff. But I also, in the first hour, was complaining a bit about my root canal, which has upset me greatly and has thrown me off my game. And I've already decided I can't speak anymore because I had dental work done, and so I can't talk. But it sounds okay, I think.
Yeah. I mean...
I had very minor doubt, but I'm getting out of... I am definitely a hypochondriac in this regard.
I mean, it's fair. You use this instrument to host a show. So I imagine you had rightfully
we were talking about it in the first hour at 713-440-8870. We always invite folks to call in and join our conversation and share us on whatever we're talking about. And Ann is on the line from the Westside. Ann, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Ernie. How are you doing?
Well, you've heard.
Oh, Ernie
Send
and
flowers.
Brenda, I met you yesterday at the event. And Ernie, we've met many times. And I am a dental hygienist.
Yes, and a good supporter of our station. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And here's where I'm going to flip the conversation about your root canal.
Okay.
Everybody gets wigged out about it. And what I heard you say was, it was painless. You're in no pain.
That's not the problem.
One great.
And I will tell you the pain of it wasn't. Tooth. Yeah, help me with this, because everyone says I'm insane and I'm getting carried away with it. But I feel like...
getting carried away with it. But
okay.
Go ahead. I'm
All
going
right.
to be quiet.
I feel like that they went in and then they cut a much bigger hole than they needed to do what they needed to do. And so like the whole surface of my tooth now is a filling covering kind of thing. Is that normal or is that too aggressive?
No, that is totally normal. And let me just put this in perspective.
Okay, and you're helping me off the ledge here already. Thank you. Continue.
I know. Okay, so here's the deal with oral health. Everybody kind of dismisses it. They just want everything to look beautiful until something hurts or it doesn't function. But if you like talking, eating,
Yeah, I
or
enjoy
smiling. Yeah, their teeth are kind of an important thing. Okay, so the problem is that the bacteria that cause these infections, they're like little terrorists. And when they get a toehold, if you ignore it, the type of infection that you could have ended up with would have been so serious.
Yeah.
So here's the good news. You were proactive, and so were your dental professionals. You got great treatment. And so what is missing now is the infection's gone, or it's gone.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part
think
of this
about
phone
this.
call about you calling it in is I can see Ernie's face slowly relaxing.
To a point. Okay. But now, Ann, I'm going to give you one more, and I know this isn't a dental hygiene show today, and so we're not going to get carried away, though we should have you on, Ann, to chat about this at another time. In my vast internet research of root canals, as a friend of mine said, it's amazing to see in one day you know more than the dentists. But I thought it's just like a small 1, 2, maybe 3 millimeter hole up through the tooth. They pull the nerve out, and then they patch that little hole, not take the whole surface of the tooth on the bottom.
They have to have access to get in to some very, very small areas to remove the bacteria.
Okay.
And if you kept that infection, do you realize how close that tooth is to your brain? We like your brain. We want you to have a healthy brain.
I think obviously we can see that it has spread. But, Ann, I thank you for calling. Yes, I definitely support dental care to everybody. As I said, I've been very fortunate with great teeth my whole life, and it's because I go to my dentist often. I listen to their advice. Everyone should. If you need a root canal, yes, I went and got it. I mean, trust me. You do what you need to do to keep your dental health. Don't listen to me whining here and think putting off that. Just, I would say, and this is the hard part, when you need these kinds of procedures, you need them now. And so oftentimes you don't have the freedom of feeling like you can shop around and find who's best for you. So my advice is follow your dentist's advice always, but ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. And if something doesn't feel right, you have the right to say, nah, I'm going to go somewhere else. But remember, as Ann is telling us, you don't want infection to spread. And when you're hurting already, that means the infection has taken hold, and you got to get that cleaned up. Ann, am I right on everything I just said there?
Pain is a final indicator. So if you need treatment and you're not in pain, don't assume you don't need treatment, and quit paying attention to Dr. Google. And make good friends with your dental hygienist, because the goal of the dental hygienist is to keep you away from a dentist. So pay attention to us.
And thank you. Thank you so much for calling. You did. You made me feel better about it. You're someone who has supported our station for a long time. I see you at a lot of our events, and it's always a joy to talk with you. Hearing you say this, I feel much better. Thank you very much, Ann, for calling.
Have a great weekend. And Brenda, great smile. Good meeting you yesterday. Okay, bye, gang.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ann. It's because I take care of my teeth.
You do take care of your teeth. Okay, 713-440-8870. Our phone lines are always open to you. And trust me, they don't have to be about my dental care. They can be about anything you want to share. How about this? If I thought I was frightened sitting in a chair getting my tooth worked on yesterday, let me tell you, there were 8 Houston area students that were luckily safely rescued Thursday after, this is going to be horrifying, getting stuck for several hours on the Iron Shark roller coaster in Galveston's Pleasure Pier. Galveston firefighters responded after the ride malfunctioned and stopped near the top of the coaster's 100-foot lift hill. The students were part of a school field trip organized by Energize for STEM Academy. We are happy to report, and the only reason we're talking about this story in a slightly light way is because no injuries were reported. Landry's Incorporated, which owns the Pleasure Pier, says the ride functioned as designed by stopping safely and will now undergo a full inspection before returning to service.
The footage is wild. I mean, they are facing skyward in their...
Just dangling
dangling there, facing skyward, vertical dropped right below them. Looked very steep. I could see why they were frightened. Also, shout out to the Galveston firefighters, because one, it's scary to go up there because it is Hi, but also I am genuinely worried somebody will get sick on me from being at that angle for so long.
Quickly, I do want to let you know, please, what are your thoughts on all of this? And do you ride roller coasters? Do you enjoy them? Do you ever think this would happen to you? Having seen this happen to other people, are your summer plans of going and riding a roller coaster changing a little bit? Let us know. 713-440-8870. Didn't mean to cut you off. Wanted to make sure we included our wonderful listeners.
Yes, of course. And, there is a lot of roller coaster experiences I've had. Of course, I grew up in Houston. So, of course, there was the Excalibur and the Texas Twister and so many other rides that I long for. Now that I'm older, I don't ride as much. Yeah. Mostly because I keep thinking, like, what if I break something? What if my old bones can't handle the jostling around? But at the same time, I do love a good thrill ride. I do love that experience.
I love a roller coaster. I always have loved a roller coaster. When I was a kid, we had a couple hour and a half, 2 hours from our home was a place called Ghost Town in the Glen, also called Rocky Glen Amusement Park at a different point in its history, and it had a little roller coaster there. And for a very short time, I held the record for the most consecutive rides on the roller coaster at 50 rides in a row. And what made it even harder was we weren't allowed to stay on the roller coaster, so you had to get off, run around, get back on, and ride again. But I did it 50 times in one day, and the next year someone beat it at 51 times. But suffice to say, I love roller coasters. Not a fan of rides that just spin me around on the ground or up in the air. I like a roller coaster because I go on a journey. I don't want to just spin.
I do like the anti-gravity rides, the ones that do spin, but you're indoors and you don't see it. Now in Mexico, it's a big deal because what they'll do is the ride operator will put on a witch costume or like some sort of scary costume. This is true. You can look it up. It's all on YouTube. They'll spin you around these gravity rides, and then as a way to show off, these ride operators will climb in while the ride is moving. This is not legal here in the United States. But they'll climb in and they'll dance for the folks who are on the ride as like a scary costume monster rolling around. And ever since I
Brenda,
saw
the
that,
stories you bring to the table, I sometimes wonder about.
I just, it's just one of those things that safety standards are so different country to country.
Absolutely. I spend a lot of time in front of my big screen TV, pulled up close in a chair, watching rides from other places, those people that strap on. So I can kind of lean back. I took my mom on a roller coaster ride one summer just by sitting up against the screen and moving her, and she loved it. She's the one who got me hooked on roller coasters. When I was a little kid, she wanted to ride the roller coasters and always took me. And we went on the Swiss kebabs at Adventureland outside of Chicago, if I'm remembering all of this correctly. And it was at the time either the tallest or the fastest roller coaster. And it was an old wooden roller coaster. It was many years ago. And I almost flew out of the back of that. And I remember my mom, the story in the family goes, my mom holding on to me by just my pinky to keep me in the seat. But I still love roller coasters. So what are your thoughts? Do you love roller coasters? What if you were on a roller coaster and you're almost at the top of a 100-foot peak and the roller coaster just stopped? And it's not like the old roller coasters that have a incline up. This is a pretty vertical climb.
Yes.
And you were just stuck there.
Pleasure Pier is such a compact spot. They only have so much square footage to work with. So if they can make it go up, they're going to make it go up.
I don't know. Excalibur at Astroworld. Great memory, by the way. The Dome needs to incorporate an indoor theme park, says Cliff Plans.
We'll put it next to the casino.
And Chef Rob, sigh, we deserve an amusement park. I miss Astroworld.
We
I read that
do.
with affection. Dave Ford also writes, I can't remember the last time I was at an amusement park. Actually, the last one I was at was Pleasure Pier last summer. Last fall, I think it was.
That's one of the things I love about the rodeo is that you have this amusement park vibe with the carnival. That is one of the few places I will get on a carnival ride because I trust their safety features. There's so much work that goes into the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, and of course the carnival rides that come with it. But I do see those carnival rides throughout the city.
This is where you're going to lose me in this conversation.
Not
because
so much.
You've all heard my thoughts on mankind and machinery, and that's why I won't fly in a helicopter. I don't like carnival rides. I love amusement park rides because I feel like they're there, they're solid, they've been built in place. But it is funny because what are we talking about where the problem was? At a set amusement park ride and not at a carnival. driving town to town, screwing it all in. I will tell you a story. When they first built this building, we got to take a tour of it while they were in construction. This was 25 years ago or so. And it was early stages, and there was a bolt with a screw on it. And I was standing around talking to someone, and I fidget, and I unscrewed that nut and took it with me. I had it for the longest time in my office. And then when there was a really bad storm here, I thought to myself, that nut was there for a reason. I certainly hope someone noticed that it was gone and put a new one on, or this entire building is going to collapse one day, and it's going to be because of that nut I took.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, speaking of holding on to your lunch, as the FIFA World Cup kicks off soon.
But before you tell us that, I want to tell you there's a poll up on our YouTube page. Do you ride roller coasters or carnival rides? Go there right now and vote. There are 3 choices. Absolutely love the thrill. No, don't trust them, or it depends on the ride. You can find it on the Houston Public Media channel on YouTube, or just go to houstonpublicmedia.org, and that will lead you there. Take a vote. I'd love to know what you think about that. Okay, Brenda, your next story.
Speaking of wild rides, we're going to talk about Wings, which is a flavor ride in and of itself. As the FIFA World Cup kicks off soon, Houston soccer fans may want to budget a little extra for their big game food orders. A new study from Bovada Sportsbook found that Houston ranks as the 3rd most expensive city in the United States for takeout chicken wings, with fans paying an average of, get this, $18.03 for an 8-wing order. That's about $2.25 per wing, and only in New York City and San Francisco were more expensive. The findings come as millions of Americans are expected to gather at sports bars, restaurants, and home watch parties throughout the tournament, driving up the demand for popular takeout foods like wings, pizza, and even burgers. So, only New York City and San Francisco were considered more expensive. Are you a wing fan? What's your go-to flavor? Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870.
I'm going to change the question you asked. It's not as are you a wing fan or what's your favorite flavor? My question is not it ridiculous to pay $2.25 for a chicken wing?
It used to be 50 cents a wing.
I remember when they were $0.25 a wing. You know, you could go out on like Tuesday wing night. They were $0.25, or buy one, get one free, or all those deals. $2.25.
There were a couple of places, I think it's Brew Wings in Houston, where they would have 2-for-1 Tuesdays.
Yes, well, a lot of them had Tuesday wing night specials.
And then they try to bring in the breaded. No, not the breaded. The boneless.
Those are chicken nuggets, people.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. And then they get you to pay wing prices for a chicken nugget.
Yes.
No, thank you.
You have to debone it. You have to have
your
skill.
curmudgeon hosts on your Friday show.
Well, there's I don't want to say elegance because that's way too strong a word when it comes to wings.
Yeah.
But there's a ritual to it. You're with a group of friends. You're diving in. You're watching a game, and you have to get the bones out. You have to eat around it to get the meat. It's not an easy food to eat. I remember a friend of mine once said he loved taking first dates out to get wings. Which sounds like a perfect date if you're an orc or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go on a first date and eat wings.
I said the same thing, but he pushed back and he said the reason why he liked taking first dates is to eat wings is because you got to see a person's personality truly come out. Because when you're navigating how to eat these, are you delicate or you just dive right in? And also, he wanted to see how much people can handle the spicy levels of those wings, which is, fair enough.
I am talking about the wing price. Noah Espinosa comments and mentions the location online. And what they are touting is that on Mondays, the wings only cost $1. That still seems too expensive to me. So I don't know. I will say this, though. I've gone to making them myself at home. I should have a cooking show because now what I cook are wings at home. I bake them in the oven, but the secret to it is baking powder. Shake them in baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder. Let them dry in the fridge for a day so that they dry up, and then bake them in the oven. Very high temperature, 425 or something. 20 minutes, turn them. 20 more minutes, turn them. Depending on how much you want, you may go one more 20 minutes. And let me tell you, you can get a package of wings for like $12, and it's 3 pounds of wings.
That overnight is the secret
much better
ingredient.
deal.
Yes.
There you go. There's my tip for the day. We got a lot more tips for you right here on Hello Houston. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, back. Texperts, where University of Houston political science professor and party politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus explores the role county attorneys play in elections. That's right here on Hello Houston, right after the break.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This week, we've got interviews that will put a couple of great books on your summer reading list. We're talking about the poetry of food and the life of the legendary Judith Jones, who brought Julia Child back to America. That's coming up on The Splendid Table.
You can listen to The Splendid Table this Sunday at noon.
Acclaimed nature writer Terry Tempest Williams on her best-selling new book, The Glorians, Visitations from the Holy Ordinary.
When we are present, we know what to do. When we are present, we can say, I stand corrected. Because we were met with another presence greater than our own, the Glorians.
I'm Jenny Doring, and that's next time on Living on Earth from PRX.
It's on tomorrow night at 10 o'clock.
Houston Matters wants to hear from you about story or guest ideas for future programs, or pet care or gardening questions you'd like us to tackle when those subjects come up each month on the show. Or maybe you have suggestions for how we can improve the program and provide a better public service. Reach out anytime at talk@houstonmatters.org. I'm Craig Cohen. Join us for the next Houston Matters, weekday mornings at 9 here on News 88.7.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Ernie Manouse and guest host Brenda Valdivia.
As we come off another election cycle, we revisit the Texperts, where University of Houston political science professor and party politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus explores the role county attorneys play in elections. He discusses it all with Harris County Attorney Jonathan Fombon. Take a listen now.
Welcome to Texperts, Houston Public Media's short primers on Texas government. I'm Brandon Rottinghaus, a political science professor at the University of Houston.
In January 2026, Texas Governor Greg Abbott went public with a pretty explosive accusation. He claimed Harris County elections were fraudulent and said the state might need to step in and take over how elections are run there.
And so time and time and time again, we're seeing Harris County engage in practices that compromise election integrity. The only thing I'm seeking to achieve is to ensure the integrity of elections in Harris County and across the state of Texas.
That's a huge claim, and it didn't sit unanswered for long. Within hours, Harris County Attorney Jonathan Fombon struck back, basically saying, hold on, the governor doesn't have authority to do that. That back and forth gives us a perfect window into the role most people don't think about much, but matters a lot when it comes to voting rights: the county attorney. So what does a county attorney actually do in Texas? At its core, the county attorney is the county's chief civil lawyer. This isn't the person prosecuting crimes. That's the district attorney. Instead, the county attorney handles civil issues, advising county officials, representing the county in lawsuits, and making sure local government's following the law. But when it comes to elections, that job can get very political very fast. Another major part of the job is less flashy but incredibly important, and that's day-to-day legal advice. County attorneys work closely with election officials, the county clerk, the voter registrar, and the tax offices. When election officials do get challenged in court over voter registration rules, polling locations, or election procedures, the county attorney is the one defending them or guiding the county's legal response. Sometimes county attorneys can go on offense. They don't just defend
against lawsuits. They file them. In Harris County, the county attorney's office has filed or joined lawsuits arguing that certain state actions would suppress turnout or interfere with voters' rights. In one filing, the office warned that without legal intervention, the public's ability to choose its elected representatives, basically the core of democracy, was at risk. That tells you something important. This office isn't just reacting, it's actively trying to protect access to the ballot. The state has a long history of election fights, and its constitution expressly limits special laws targeting specific counties. That means that when state lawmakers try to impose unique voting rules on a single county, especially large, diverse counties like Harris, the county attorney often becomes the first line of defense in court. County attorneys don't get the attention that governors, legislators, or judges do. But when voting rights are challenged at the local level, they're often the ones who do the heavy lifting, filing lawsuits, advising officials, and standing up publicly for the integrity of elections. We talk with someone who knows a lot about this role, interim county attorney Jonathan Von Bon. Jonathan Von Bon, welcome to Texperts.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So the first question is, for listeners who may not know, what is the county attorney's role in elections, and how is it different from what a district attorney or a state attorney general does?
So the county attorney, generally speaking, and at least in Harris County, is the chief civil lawyer for the county. So that means that anything civil comes through our office, and that's anything related to commissioner's court, but also any other county independently elected official. And so that includes the county clerk and the county tax assessor collector. And that's important because in Texas, the county clerk normally runs elections and the county tax assessor runs voter registration. So we are their lawyers. And so anything that involves, an interpretation of the Texas election code and how that relates to the conduct of elections or voter registration, that's going to come through our office. Now, compared to a DA that's just enforcing criminal laws, there are some criminal provisions of the election code, but they're pretty limited. They really act in an enforcement capacity. The AG's office, and that's actually changed over the years, used to have some criminal enforcement powers. The Court of Criminal Appeals has said, actually, no, you don't anymore. But they have a role to play. They advise the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State doesn't really oversee elections per se, but they're sort of the state agency that promulgates rules surrounding elections, and really they act as an advisor to local election officials. So the AG also has a role to play in that sense. Now, we've also seen the AG engage in litigation around civil litigation around election law the last few years. So they have that general role that operates kind of in the background, but it's not really an official role.
Yeah. Obviously, elections are a big part of this. And so what kind of legal guidance does your office give to election officials like the tax assessor collector or voter registrar, like on a daily basis?
So a lot of it is minutia that are probably not all that interesting, right? It's, you're
That's all we do here.
You're developing a new form, right? What does it have to look like? How many languages does it have to be translated in, right? Different things like that. Things that are probably not that controversial. But then there are things that end up being on the news. So a prominent example is recently the tax assessor collector received a letter from Senator Betancourt basically saying that he had found a bunch of voters that appeared to be registered at P.O. boxes. And in 2021, the Senate had passed a law saying that you couldn't really maintain a residence at a commercial P.O. box. And so he was basically asking the tax assessor collector to look into that. And so we help them look at what the law requires, what it doesn't require. And that means, first of all, what does it mean to be a commercial P.O. box, right? Because there are people who are allowed to be registered at P.O. boxes. For example, people who are in the military or in other places like that, right? And then secondly, what is their responsibility when someone provides them with notice that there may be people registered at a P.O. box? So that's a very clear example of, when we come in on something that ends up being a hot button issue. So, but really, anything involving the conduct of elections. Then there are sort of initiatives that we're a part of at the county that usually, pop up. It's not a day-to-day thing, but pop up around the time of elections. So we operate an election hotline in the office so that people can call if they have legal questions. It's not really for voters, it's for people who are running elections. So in a place like Harris County, where we sometimes have hundreds of polling sites. The polling sites are being operated by really part-time workers, and some of them are experienced and some of them aren't at all. And so they're able to call our office and say, hey, this thing happened at the polls. Maybe there's some voter intimidation or somebody removed a candidate signs. What's the law around this? What am I allowed to do? So we do things like that too.
That's a great point. And obviously, sometimes these things end up in court because of the combativeness of it and because of the importance of voting rights. So when the state passes a law or proposes an initiative that affects local election administration, how does your office decide whether or not to challenge them in court?
Yeah, so I'm now the county attorney. Before that, I was Christian Menefee's number two for 5 years, and we've had a lot of election laws passed in that time. In 2021, the legislature passed this big omnibus bill that much of which actually was targeted at Harris County because of reforms Harris County had tried to make during the 2020 election. And so, whenever a law like that gets passed, we look at it and we say, okay, what's the impact of this on the county, on the county's operations, and on voters, and what can we do to challenge it? Now, we're not, both Christian and I are civil litigators, and we like to litigate, but we don't just bring cases to make headlines. We want to make sure there's some merit to them. And the other thing to remember, and I think it's a challenge sometimes, but we're not voters, right? We, the county, are not voters. We don't have the same voting rights as voters. So we can't come in and say, hey, you're violating my voting rights. We have to come in as a government entity and saying you're doing harm to the entity itself. So in 2021, when SB1, which was this big omnibus bill, was passed, a lot of what I think were problematic provisions were targeted at voters themselves, but the county didn't really have standing to sue over them. And in fact, the county was a defendant in a lot of the cases that were brought because the county actually implements many of those laws. That said, we looked at some of those provisions, and there was one in particular that really troubled us. And it said that county election officials could not, quote, solicit mail-in ballot applications. And that was a law that was passed directly in response to something County Clerk Chris Hollins had done in 2020, where he had encouraged folks to seek mail-in ballot applications. And remember, this was COVID, and he was trying to remind people that, if you think that you can't vote because, for example, you have a disability or you're just over 65 and it's going to be dangerous for you to come vote, remember that you can get a mail-in ballot application and eventually cast a mail-in ballot. So anyway, we thought that word solicit was pretty vague and came with criminal penalties. And so we partnered with the elections administrator at the time, Isabel Longoria, and made her a plaintiff and challenged that law on First Amendment grounds. And that's because, again, we felt like, this is bad for voters in the end, right? This is something that is going to prevent voter education, and county election officials should be in the business of educating voters about how they can vote and what their voting rights are. And so we brought that case. I could talk more if you want. We have another example. In 2023, the legislature passed a law that basically took away Harris County's ability to have an elections administrator. And just side explanation, most large counties in Texas actually don't run elections through the county clerk and tax assessor. There's a statute that allows them to combine the election and voter registration functions into a separate unelected office called an elections administrator. And that's what Harris County had done in 2020. And after the 2022 election, where some folks thought that the elections administrator hadn't done a great job in Harris County, the state passed a law that applies only to the county that basically prohibits us from having an elections administrator. And so that was because that was so targeted at the county. We thought we should do something about it. But again, we didn't just bring a case. We looked at what kind of interesting angles we could use and came up with this theory that I think is still correct, even though we ended up having to drop the case, which is that in Texas, you can't pass what are called bracket bills that aren't general. So a bracket bill is usually a population-based bill where you say, any county over X population, this law applies to you. And there's lots of those bills, and the legislature has done them forever, but there's some specific parameters there, which is you can't pass a bill that is obviously targeting a specific county. If you say 3.3 million people, then that probably only applies to Harris County, but you're not calling them out. The way they'd written this law, Brandon, though, is it said if you're 3.3 million people on this date, And that was very clearly targeting the county. And so, anyway, we brought a case. We got an injunction in the trial court. Texas Supreme Court eventually ruled against us, and so we unfortunately had to drop the case. But we thought that case had a lot of merit, and so again, the guiding principle is: do we have a chance? Do we have some? Is there like real merit behind it? Right? We don't just file lawsuits to make headlines. And what serves the public interest?
Yeah, that's the hardest question is how do you balance the kind of obviously political ramifications to how voting is handled in Texas and in Harris County and the need to be able to represent the entire county because obviously it's an elected official in position here and it definitely can lead into these political questions. So how does the office balance these kinds of obligations?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not elected. I was appointed, but my prior boss was, and he has a certain point of view. So I don't think we hide from that, right? I think his perspective, and I wouldn't say it's a Democrat versus Republican thing, but his perspective is you should make it easy to vote, and we should have policies that make it easy for people to vote. And voting shouldn't be something that becomes more and more restrictive every year. In fact, it's the opposite, right? As technology gets better and as information gets better, people should find it easier to go vote. And so that's his philosophy. I think it's the philosophy of a lot of people in the county. And so I wouldn't say it's political in the sort of Democrat versus Republican sense, but as we know, there are folks in this country and here in Harris County who feel the opposite. And so there is certainly a political element to it. Again, like statutorily, our role is to represent the clients we're given, right? And they're given to us through elections. And so I think something that I've always been very proud of is that, we have Republican clients, and if they come to us, we give them the same legal advice as the legal advice we give to our Democratic clients. Like it's not, it's no different. But of course, if it's a decision that has to be made by Commissioner's Court, that's a majority Democratic body, at least it has been since I've been here. And so, when we're thinking about taking on litigation, we know we're going to get some questions from the Republican members of Commissioner's Court, and they'll probably vote against approving that kind of litigation. And we talk to them and we educate them as to why we think it's good. And in the end, that's a democratic process, working. And the people who are approving our lawsuits are the people who happen to have been elected at the time.
Let me make you an autocrat for our last question. That is, if you had a magic wand and could fix one thing about voting or make one change to voting in Harris County or Texas, what would it be?
I want to answer with the obvious answer, which is what every voting rights person will tell you, which is automatic voter registration. We spend so much time in the state, at the county, talking about, voter rolls and who should and shouldn't be on them and making it difficult for people to register to vote. I think, you look at other jurisdictions, at least you can register to vote online in some places. Some of them just do it automatically, right? When you turn a certain age, there's different ways to do it, but I think automatic voter registration is the easiest. The other thing, and this is more about the conduct of elections itself, is we need to have mail ballot access for everybody. In Texas right now, it's typically reserved for people who are 65 and over or who have certain types of disabilities. If you believe that you're more likely to see fraud in mail ballot voting, that would apply to folks 65 and over just as much as would to people who are 18 to 65. I don't see a principle for not having that, but it makes voting so much easier. And it's done in a lot of other places. I think Utah has universal mail ballot access. That is definitely not a Democratic state, right? California has it too. So there's no reason it can't be done. I think it would relieve the pressure on election officials, right? Because I think you would see most people voting by mail. You wouldn't necessarily have as many polling places. There are other reasons why we have too many polling places, in my view. But I think one of the reasons is just we have a lot of voters, right? And so that is one of the biggest pressure points on the county, and what in a county this size leads to mistakes sometimes is just the sheer number of polling locations. Because as I said earlier, they're manned by, essentially, they're not volunteers, but they're part-time workers, right? And even the ones who do it all the time, they're not doing it every day. And so you reduce the potential for error by taking humans out of that process and by taking polling locations out of that process. And also you just drastically reduce the cost of elections. It's so expensive to run an election in Harris County, right? Even a small one, you still are talking about, I mean, think about the CD18 election that just happened, the special election, that I think we had 80 plus polling locations on election day, just for a special election that had what, 26,000 voters turn out between early voting and election day. I mean, that's not a good use of resources. So those, I think, are the two things I would focus on the most.
Fantastic. Jonathan Thombaum, thank you so much.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks for listening to Texperts, and thanks to everybody, cast and crew here at Houston Public Media, for making it happen.
That was Brandon Rottinghaus, University of Houston professor of political science and co-host of Houston Public Media's Party Politics. He spoke with Harris County Attorney Jonathan Thombaum earlier this year. Coming up, it's time to share our last-minute plans, and we invite you to share yours too, whether you are attending an event you want folks to know about or hosting something special you want to have us put a spotlight on. Give us a call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Do it right now, and then we'll share them with the audience. Coming up right after this break.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
The race to control the Senate heats up, with Texas Republicans choosing a candidate who has been impeached. Plus, the Pope warned us about the dangers of AI, and we will answer a listener's question. He is frustrated with President Trump's anti-weaponization fund. I'm David Green. Hope you will join Mo Lathy, Sarah Isger, and me for the next Left, Right, and Center.
Left, Right, and Center. You can hear it Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock.
I'm Maria Hinojosa. Next time on Latino USA, ahead of the Men's World Cup, we bring you a new show from Futuro Studios. It's all about soccer culture in the U.S. and its underdog roots.
Why do I watch the World Cup? That's like asking me, why do I breathe?
It's called American Football. And that's next time on Latino USA.
You can hear that Sunday night at 7 p.m.
Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match. Metro provides bus, rail, and paratransit service and continues mobility enhancements across the region. More at ridemetro.org/Metro Now.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, take a musical journey through the evolution of modern American folk music on This Land Is Your Land at 8, followed by Woody Guthrie at 100 live at the Kennedy Center at 9:30. Tonight on TV8.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Ernie Manouse and guest host Brenda Valdivia.
All right, we've made it. Finally, end of the week, last segment of this show. You made it, Brenda.
I did.
We're going to start doing last-minute plans, and to do last-minute plans, we want you to join in as well. Share with us what you got planned this weekend. Or if you're hosting or know about an event you want people to know about, this is the time and the opportunity to share it with us, and our audience can all hear about it. Give us a call, 713-440-8870. You can also text us there or send us an email, talk@hellohouston.org. Before we get into last-minute plans, we were talking about roller coasters and that roller coaster at the Pleasure Pier that got stuck going up a 100-foot incline near the top. And we asked on our poll question over on YouTube, which we do polls every day. So go over there and join the polls. Today's was, do you ride roller coasters / carnival rides? Which, as I've stated, are two very different things. But anyway, the choices were, it depends on the ride, absolutely love the thrill, or third choice, no, don't trust them. Well, we've got thrill seekers out there. But not that much. We've got, I read the results wrong. We have actually, our winner is it depends on the ride. 45% of you said that that's how you choose it. That was me. It depends on the ride. Absolutely love the thrill ride was 33% of our listeners. And nope, don't trust them. That was only 22%.
You know, I was thinking about what you said about that loose bolt being there.
Every time you feel this building sway, you think about me stealing that bolt.
Well, you know, some people, they want that extra thrill. Maybe they see that loose
Coming
bolt.
to Houston
They're like,
Public Media is
"That's
a
the one."
thrill ride. All right, we have reached the end of the week. So with this upon us, it's time to talk about our last minute plans. Brenda, I'm going to start off with you. Got anything fun going on?
Well, you know, with the election week happening and prepping for Hello Houston and other events, I was also doing a lot of editing and working. Something that I do, if you may know, is I'm a producer for Houston Matters. So there are times that I am editing and going out into the field and interviewing folks. And that happens sometimes during the weekend or at the end of the week. So that kind of spirals into the next week. I feel like I've been running at 100 this week.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have too, especially now you had to deal with your tooth issues too. So I am in the mindset of going to Galveston. I always have a beach
To ride
bag.
the roller coaster on the Pleasure Pier?
No, the absolute opposite. I always have a beach bag in my trunk. I have a fold-out seat and a UV-friendly protection umbrella that I like to hide under. And all I'm going to do on Saturday, tomorrow, is go read, maybe step into the water, and just nap on the beach. That's my whole plan for the weekend. That's
That
all I want
sounds
to do.
like a lovely plan. Over on YouTube, my British computer guy says, someone suggests something awesome. I need something to do. I'm kind of in the same boat with him. Then Chris says, the grand opening of the Milkshake Factory up in the Woodlands. What is the Milkshake Factory?
I don't know, but I want to go.
I know.
there.
Suddenly I'm interested. Chris, tell us more in the chat or give us a call, 713-440-8870. What is the Milkshake Factory? Noah Espinoza comments on what we were just talking about. That loose bolt that Ernie collected is a symbol of the screw he has loose. Thank you for that one, Noah. Stepped away, missed the poll. I'm here for the thrill. Well, you know, she would have said, I'm here for the thrill. So good to know that. Wine goddess. Other things going on. I'm with you, though. Well, I would like to be going somewhere and relaxing. It has been a busy couple of weeks. We had election coverage. That was really the big thing. And so hopefully I'm going to do what I plan to do every weekend when I have nothing to do. And I will report back to you on Monday that I did not do it because that's how it always goes. But I'm going to clean out my garage this weekend.
You know, so I started doing this thing. I created events on my Google Calendar. So it pops up on my phone. It pops up on my Alexa. Things I swore to myself I was going to do. Deep clean my fridge, the oven, reorganize a bookcase. And because I scheduled it and everything is ringing at me that I have to do it, I mutter to myself, why did I do this to myself? And I end up, doing all the projects.
Do you actually do it?
Yes.
See,
my
I
house
haven't.
is looking better.
I can guarantee I'm not cleaning my garage this weekend, but I'm going to pretend I am.
Ernie, this is true. I put in a new bathroom faucet. I didn't know anything about plumbing. I'm still not sure I do, but I scheduled it, so I did it.
If there's not water leaking, you did it right.
Yeah.
There you go. On Saturday, you can go to the Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Day at the Houston Zoo. The zoo will host a lineup of local cultural performance groups consisting of Indian Music Society of Houston, Unity Lion and Dragon Dance Troupe, and many more. All performances will be held at the Reflection Pool and will be on from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday at the zoo. So go see that. That could be fun to do.
Yeah, it also looks
Hold on a second. 713-440-8870. We got a call from Jared at Greenway Plaza. Jared, what do you have planned for the weekend?
Hey guys, yeah, I got some very, very exciting stuff planned for a birthday coming up. So me and my friends, we are a team of DJs. I'm a photographer and videographer, and we are experimenting with different places, different shows and events put on for our friends in our community. So we are doing something that has never been done before, and we're doing this in collaboration with a birthday to really test it and be able to make it perfect, and then open it up to the public, which is a party bus with DJs, entertainment, and we get to go make some food stops and eventually end the night at a club.
Wow. Well, Jared, if you need a test run, you let me know. I'll get my friends together and we'll go for a ride on your party bus. It sounds like a lot of fun. That is a great idea. How do people find out more? Do you have a website?
Yeah, so you can find us at My Dimension. It's M-I, then Dimension is the way it's spelled, Dimension, and Instagram is where we're making the most noise.
All right, we're going to keep an eye out on that. Once you open it to the public, let us know, and then we will talk about it again. Thanks, Jared, for calling in and sharing that with us.
I do love a good party bus.
Thanks. Yeah, a good party bus is always a good time.
Yeah, I've had friends host them for weddings. They'll pick you up from the hotel, take you to the wedding. Everybody had a great late night at that wedding, and the party bus was there to take us all home.
I don't know if I'm into like the getting crazy in the buses kind of things that you see on video and TV where everyone's drinking and they're trying to dance in the bus and stuff. I'm a little less than that. I like the bus to give me some refreshment, take me where I'm going. I like the idea of a DJ on the bus, but I don't want it to get too crazy. You were about to say something else that's going on this weekend.
Yes, 2026 Houston Bruisology Beer Fest at the Houston Museum of Natural Science. I love their evening events. I love anything, the mixology events, the news. I was going to say news and brews, but that's
our
actually us.
We love news and brews.
But yes, at the Museum of Natural Science, they'll host events similar to this. There's dancing. And you know what? The first time I went, I was expecting kind of a serious affair because it is the Museum of Natural Science.
They know how to party.
But they party.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fantastic event, so that's definitely something to look out for.
Bruisology Beer Fest will feature dozens of specialty beers from local craft breweries that you can sample throughout the museum's exhibits, and it's going to happen Saturday night from 7 to 11 p.m.
Oh, yes. People were also mentioning in the comments earlier where we were talking about movies that there are midnight movies being played at the River Oaks Theater.
Oh, yeah, they're doing Rocky Horror again over there.
Perfect excuse to put on some fishnet tights and go out there and see a show.
I have a million jokes, and I'm going to leave them right there. And I'm going to move on to Sunday, the holiest day of the week. And Child's Play movie screening at the Houston Toy Museum. I love that. This is part of the museum's Sunday Scaries series in partnership with Houston Horror Collective. You'll be able to watch the 1988 horror classic about a killer doll on the big screen while surrounded by a lot of creepy toys. I don't know if they're creepy, but a lot of toys. You have to be 21 to go to the event. Screening is at 6 p.m. That is at the Houston Toy Museum. 713-440-8870. Kevin from Fayette County is on the line. Kevin, what have you got planned?
Well, I just happen to work at Lake Fayette Parks. We got two parks out here at Lake Fayette. It's a great little day trip from Houston. It's about an hour and a half or so from Houston, various parts of Houston. But we've got it's a wonderful little lake, great bass fishing. It's a warm lake because it's the cooling reservoir for the LaGrange power plant project. Keeps those fish growing all year round, nice and big and biting, and wonderful little fishing spot. We got parks with picnic tables, and it's a great little day trip.
Kevin, thank you for reminding us of that wonderful resource in our community. That's great. Thanks for calling in.
You got it. Hope to see people here.
I hope so, too. Something I've been remiss to mention, and I noticed because my British computer guy has been commenting in our chat today, and he talks about, what, no records? He was talking about the DJ, I'm guessing. But you know what? I do have to thank him. He has produced a new album. And by album, I mean on vinyl. And he came to my Eurovision party and handed me a copy of this album. And I had a first print of it, and I have listened to it, and it is wonderful. I don't know if it's commercially available or what he does with them after that, but I got the chance to listen to it. So my weekend plan is to listen to it again with my friends.
Very nice. What's the genre of music?
It's dance music.
Ooh.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, at least I would call it dance music. I probably don't know. They probably have some terminology for it. But anyway, yeah, it's a great album, a great cover, and I was very happy to receive a copy of it. And it is, I hear on chat, it is dance music. I didn't know if they call it like electric dance or disco.
House.
Anyway, that's just some of the things going on this weekend, all weekend long. Guess what? Tim Meadows is at the Houston Improv. You probably remember Tim Meadows. He's been on a bunch of shows from Mean Girls to the Goldbergs and so many SNL alum. So that's just part of it. But you know what? Made it to the end of the week. Sorry, folks. Brings us to the end of the week here on Hello Houston. Thank you for watching or listening. Brenda, thank you for sitting in today.
Ernie,
We're touching.
yeah.
I'll be back on Monday with more conversations, including discussing the beginning of, hurricane season, which officially starts on Monday. In the meantime, you can enjoy the best of Hello Houston, Saturdays at 1 p.m., Sundays at 11 a.m. here on News 88.7. Now go out and have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Trustworthy news is why you tune in every day. Become a new member by Friday, and you'll help us unlock $10,000. That goes right back into this station that you rely on. You can do that at Houston